Hey all, Hipper here. Now I'm looking at the Cheshire in this video here, and I'll just quickly go through the changes here. We'll just go in and have a look at the stats, and down to maneuverability, which is now 95, at a maximum speed 40 and rudder 2.4. So it's not as big as an improvement as I was hoping. And I mean, this ship is still an acquired taste, don't get me wrong. This is not a ship that you take out and then you just rule the map. Definitely not. This is a challenging ship, and it requires a lot of thought and high commanders as well. A very high level lieutenant. I have a 16.3 on this ship, and I really need that 16.4. I really need that extra rudder. So yeah, it's definitely not an easy ship. And I have been playing the Surrey as well, the tier 6 tech tree heavy British cruiser, and in my opinion it's even worse than Cheshire. I don't like it. It has 2 extra guns, yes, but they're lower caliber, and it just seems squishier than Cheshire, and it's much slower. It's nearly five knots slower. So yeah, I don't have high hopes for that one. The tier 7 Albemarle looks okay. I think the rudder on that one can get down to 2.8, and it should be able to hit 40 knots, which, like, for a T7 cruiser is a must. And now that we are at T7, I will say that at tier 6, Cheshire is a good ship. It struggles a bit already, and that's why it's a challenging ship to play. But the problem is not so much the ship. The problem is when you're getting up tiered, and you're getting up tiered in every battle. That's not so much of a problem if you're in a tier 5 cruiser. Like, if I was in Exeter, I wouldn't have a problem jumping into a battle with the Cheshires. Not too bad. But the problem is Cheshire jumping into battles with tier 7 ships, be it battleships or cruisers. Destroyers doesn't really matter that much. But like, you don't want to face tier 7 ships in this ship. And the problem is that you most likely will. And that's the major problem with this ship here. It just does not up tier very well. At its own tier, it's good. If you get into a battle of only tier 6s and tier 5s, well, you are going to absolutely rule in this ship. But just one tier 7 on the opposite team that takes like a wrong look at you, no, it's not fun. I think that the tier 6 cruisers need to have a really thorough overhaul by Wargaming, and I know that both Charlemagne and Cheshire got a buff this update, but it's not enough. They are simply just nowhere near the prowess of the tier 7 cruisers or the tier 7 battleships. And that means that you'll have to play these ships extremely carefully when you're up tiered. And if there's something I hate, it's to play ships really carefully. And it makes the game boring, and that is pretty much the worst thing that can happen when you play a game, if it gets boring. So I probably won't touch any tier 6 cruisers for a long time now. They're simply not up to the task, unless the matchmaker is changed so they don't get mixed with tier 7s anymore. But that's unlikely, of course. So I'll just stick to tier 7s. And a tier 7 cruiser up tiered into a legendary battle, that's okay. I mean, it's still a challenge. But it's not as bad as a tier 6 cruiser up tiered into a tier 7 battle. I mean, I cannot understand why Wargaming lets it happen. And especially, there's a lot of fail divisioning going on. So a tier 6 cruiser will drag a tier 5 Nuremberg or something like it into a tier 7 battle. And I've seen that all day. And yeah, I've kind of had enough of it, to be honest. So I'm going to probably shelve Cheshire and Charlemagne, and Surrey. Probably indefinitely, I don't know. I'm not a CC anymore, so I don't have to be so like diverse in my choice of ships. So I'm probably gonna stick to the real agile cruisers, at least for a while. Otherwise, I will grow tired of this game very, very quickly. I want to have fun when I play, and tier 6 cruisers, they're not fun. That's just pretty much the gist of it. Now, I absolutely hate gameplay like this, where I sit somewhere safe and I take shots at ships that cannot shoot back at me. I mean, it is the most boring thing I can possibly imagine. And unfortunately, it is pretty much the only way to succeed in tier 6 cruisers when you are facing tier 7 ships. Like I said before, if you're in a tier 6 battle mixed with tier 5s or something like that, yeah, it's a different story. But that doesn't happen. I haven't had a single battle after this update where I was not up tiered with 7s. And I've played 20-25 battles, I think. Another thing is the every update always draws a lot of new players in, or players who don't play this game very much, probably just do a few hours every time there's an update. And the teams have just been extraordinarily bad in the last 24 hours. It has not been fun. Either you are on a team that just steamrolls the other team, or you are on the team that is getting steamrolled. There's nothing in between. So yeah, something needs to be done. I don't know what, but if I was wargaming, I would seriously start to think about the discrepancies between ships and the matchmaking. Now that I'm ranting away anyway, I might as well mention the fact that we still haven't got any proper stats in this game. The game is nearly 2 years old now, and this game is all about increments of 0.25% here and 0.5% there, and like you have no way of telling how these increments impact your play. There's no way to tell, and especially how you are doing as like an individual player. Like it's really not that hard to put in some stats, some graphs, and like let people filter what they want to filter on. Like if like I don't care about my overall win rate. I mean, what does that tell you? I care about my win rate in the ships that I like and the ships that I do well in. So I can tell, okay, should I invest more in this ship or should I invest more in this commander? And I would love to see the stats broken down by ship, by solo play, by division play, and by map. Because map plays a huge role on where you do well. I am sure that if we look at the stats for Two Brothers, for example, or North, I'd say that most players do much better on those maps than, for example, this map here, Sleeping Giant, or Fault Line, or Strait, or one of the more hated maps. I mean, that would be interesting, and that would be something that would keep me interested in the game. So stats is definitely another thing on my list that will have to come soon, along with some kind of tinkling with the matchmaker. I mean, we have carriers in the game now, so I'm assuming that a lot of PC guys might, or maybe not a lot, but at least a few PC players might jump over to console, and then we might get a few more players in this game, and that's of course a good thing. And it also means that we can make the matchmaker a little bit more picky. I mean, I don't mind waiting a minute for a game if that means I'm going to get a better game. In the beginning, the first 6 months this game was out, I would pick a ship and I would go into a tier 7 battle, and I would wait between 1 and 2 minutes every time. And that's just the way it was. It didn't really get fixed until PlayStation and Xbox was allowed to play together. Then the wait went down to, I don't know, less than 30 seconds. So I mean, Wargaming does know how to improve the game, and they know where to look. But there are things that have been pushed for a while now, and it's has always hurt the game, but it's really starting to hurt it now. People are getting better. They're getting higher level commanders, and obviously they want to see how am I doing. So stats, I have been yelling for that for nearly 2 years now, and we still don't have it, and that's a major oversight. Anyway, let's go back to Cheshire here. Is it a better ship? The reload is nice. The rudder actually doesn't do that much. I was expecting it to go down to 2.2, but it's only down to 2.4. So either there's something wrong with my calculations, which is quite possible. I'm not going to say there's not. Or Wargaming has somehow fiddled with what the rudder is actually supposed to be. I don't know. So again, if you're thinking about buying Cheshire here, be careful. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with the ship. It's a very good ship, and it's a hard-hitting ship. It's very agile, and it's great at dodging torps, and surprisingly great at taking out destroyers as well, even though it has a long reload. But like I said, it is an acquired taste, and either you'll do well in the ship, or you will suck terribly. There's not really any in between, unfortunately. So if you can live with that, yeah, the ship is on sale now for 10,000 doubloons, I think. But yeah, it's hard to say should you buy it or not. If you're a cruiser aficionado who likes a challenge, well, yeah, definitely buy it. But if you're like just a player who like plays the game and doesn't want to get frustrated, no, don't buy it then, because you will get frustrated in this ship until, like I said, the matchmaker has been fixed or fiddled with in some way, and that's probably not going to happen. So if you have other ships you're interested in, I would definitely buy them first. So that was a 2.4 rudder Cheshire, and like I said, the ship is better marginally, but not enough to warrant a buy still, I think. There are better ships in the game, unfortunately. Okay, well, I'll see you out there.